The toothbrush was wet. That's how it started. I was in the bathroom Saturday morning, about to do my usual shave while listening to True Crime Routine, when I noticed her toothbrush, the one with the faded green handle she never replaces, was sitting on the sink basin, dripping. She'd left for her girls' weekend the day before. Flight supposedly at 6 a.m. Friday. So unless she flew back, brushed her teeth, and flew out again, something wasn't adding up. I stared at it longer than I should have. Water doesn't stay on a toothbrush overnight. It's not like a sponge, it dries. I know that. I do all the cleaning around here. So I ran a test. Grabbed mine, ran it under the tap for a second, and left it on the same ceramic edge. 26 minutes. That's how long it took to dry completely. I know because I sat on the tub edge and timed it. That's where I'm at, apparently. Timing toothbrushes in a marriage that's been running on autopilot for the last 9 months. I didn't want to be suspicious. But lately, everything felt like one of those dreams where the house you live in is almost your house, but the windows are wrong, or the walls curve, and no matter how many doors you open, you never find your way back to the room you started in. That's been my reality with Miel for weeks. Quiet late-night texting. Excuses about needing space. Sudden new perfume. And now, the toothbrush. She texted me once that morning. Signal's bad up here. Don't freak out if I go quiet, smiling face with hearts. No photo. No miss you. Just a message preloaded with an excuse. At 11:03 a.m., I opened our closet to grab my jacket. Something was off. One of her bags, a small maroon duffel she only ever uses for overnight trips, was still there. But when I opened it, inside were 3 t-shirts, rolled socks, and a pack of gum. That was it. A decoy bag. She'd left it there on purpose. I sat on the floor of our closet, suddenly aware of how loud the house felt. The fridge hum, the ticking clock, the echo of the silence she'd left behind. And then I noticed something else. In the back corner, shoved between old purses and a yoga mat she never used. Her passport. It wasn't in the drawer. It wasn't in her usual hiding spot. It was just sitting there, out in the open, like she forgot it. Or maybe she hadn't needed it. Or maybe she had a different one. I started sweating. Not panic sweat, anger sweat. The slow kind. The kind that comes when your stomach already knows something your brain isn't ready to admit. And that's when the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I opened the door, no one was there. Just a thick envelope on the welcome mat. No name. No address. Just a post-it note that said, "She's not who you think she is. Check page 4. Inside, printed photos. Blurry at first, parking lot shots, restaurant booths. Then clearer ones. Faces. Her face. And someone else's hand in hers. I didn't go to page 4 right away. I sat at the kitchen table with the envelope for nearly an hour, just staring at it like it might explode if I breathed too hard. The paper smelled faintly like cologne, sharp and synthetic, and for some reason, that disturbed me more than the photos themselves. It was personal. Someone had prepared this. Someone had touched every page, tucked it into this envelope, and decided I needed to see it. Not the police. Not her family. Me. When I finally looked, page 4 wasn't a photo. It was a printed screenshot of a hotel booking. Thursday through Monday. 2 guests. Hotel Lucia, Mexico City. Her name was there, bold and shameless, Miel Anders. And next to hers, the name I didn't recognize, Darren Knoll. Darren. Not Roland, not Simon. This was someone new. I flipped through the rest of the stack. There were photos of her in the airport, wheeling a small navy suitcase. Photos of her standing too close to a man in aviator sunglasses. A blurry image of them kissing in a hotel lobby, just out of frame from the check-in desk. Her arms were wrapped around his neck. She was wearing the scarf I bought her last Christmas. The one she said was too warm to wear. I should have been crushed, but I wasn't. I felt stupid. Insulted. You know that feeling when you realize the joke was on you the whole time? That's where I was. I thought I was the boring husband with the boring job and the boring schedule, holding our quiet life together like glue. Turns out, I was just scenery in someone else's escape movie. And still, the question that kept gnawing at me wasn't why, but who took these? Someone had followed her, documented her, tracked every step, from the airport to the hotel to a rooftop restaurant that had its name circled in red ink on one of the photos. This wasn't random. This was planned. I checked the postmark. It was from our own city, Cedar Falls. Someone had physically dropped it at the central branch, not mailed it in from far away. That meant they were nearby. Watching. Probably still watching. My hands started shaking. I went to the living room, closed the curtains, and unplugged the Alexa. Stupid move, probably, but I was spiraling, and everything with a blinking light suddenly felt threatening. I turned my phone face down and sat on the floor, my back against the couch, trying to breathe. That's when I remembered something. Last Sunday, when Miel was at the store, I'd heard the back door creak open. I called out her name. No answer. Figured it was the wind. We get those Midwest gusts that make the house settle like it's sighing. I didn't think twice about it then. But now, what if it wasn't the wind? I went to the back door. Locked. But not double-locked, like I usually do. I checked the guest room window. The screen was pushed out slightly. Not a lot. Just enough that someone could have slid it back in place if they were careful. Was someone in my house? Watching her? Watching us? Suddenly, the envelope didn't feel like a gift. It felt like a message. A warning. Or worse, bait. I spread the photos out across the kitchen floor and stared at them until the light shifted and I realized hours had passed. One photo, in particular, caught my eye. It was a reflection in a restaurant window. At first, I thought it was just Miel and the man. But no. In the far corner of the reflection, distorted but undeniable, was another face. Put up, holding a phone. Whoever sent this wasn't just documenting her. They were documenting everything. I didn't sleep that night. Not even a minute. I laid on the living room floor with every light off. The envelope of photos still spread across the rug like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle that didn't belong to me. I kept replaying the window reflection over and over in my head, trying to convince myself it was a coincidence. Maybe just another tourist with a phone. Maybe the whole thing was some elaborate misunderstanding. But deep down, I knew better. At 3:17 a.m., I opened my laptop. I hadn't Googled the other man's name yet, Darren Knoll, partly because I wasn't ready and partly because I had this sinking feeling that once I did, everything would snap into focus in a way I wouldn't be able to reverse. But curiosity is a disease, and silence only feeds it. So I typed it in. Darren Knoll, Mexico City, Iowa, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, obituary. Nothing. Not one result that matched his full name, location, or even an old profile. The man didn't seem to exist. At least not under that name. There were people named Darren Knoll, sure, a retired dentist in Alberta, a guitar teacher in Sheffield, but not him. Not the one from the photos. Not the one kissing my wife in the hotel lobby. My stomach dropped. I ran the image of his face through Google reverse image search. That gave me one hit. A real estate website. But the name underneath the photo wasn't Darren. It was Mark Denner. And this is where it gets worse. Mark Denner was reported missing in 2019. From Arizona. The article didn't have much detail. Just that he was last seen boarding a private charter to Tulum and then disappeared somewhere near the coast. His family stopped hearing from him a week later. No foul play suspected. Case cold. No follow-up. I stared at the screen, sweating through my shirt. Was it the same man? It looked like him. Maybe a little older now. A few more lines on the face. But the eyes, it was the same eyes. What was Miel doing with someone who was either using a fake identity or was supposed to be missing? I tried texting her. Just one message. Where are you right now? Delivered. Not read. 5 minutes later, I heard a car door outside. I froze. There's a certain kind of silence your house makes when something's not right. When you know someone else is there, but you can't hear them yet. I crept toward the front window, careful not to let the floorboards creak beneath me. Pulled back the curtain just a fraction of an inch. Nothing. No car. No lights. No movement. But then I saw it. On the welcome mat. A second envelope. This one was smaller, black, sealed with red wax. No name. Just a typed message on the front. Stop looking, or you'll see more than you want to. I opened it with trembling fingers. Inside, there were only two things, a printed photo and a USB drive. The photo was of me, taken from behind. I was sitting at my desk, laptop open, clearly searching something. Timestamped, earlier that night. I dropped it. Whoever this was, they were watching me now. This wasn't just about Miel anymore. It wasn't just infidelity. It was something orchestrated. Staged. Like she was part of a performance I didn't audition for, but somehow still got cast in. I didn't plug in the USB right away. I don't know why. Fear, maybe. Or maybe because I knew what I'd find wouldn't be something I could forget. Instead, I called someone I hadn't spoken to in years. My brother, Cal. We hadn't talked since Dad's funeral 3 years ago. Fell out over something stupid. Family money, old wounds, typical garbage. But Cal used to be a systems analyst in Chicago. He knew how to dig. He could trace IP addresses, spoof call records, even rebuild wiped hard drives. He used to say, "Give me a phone number and a name, and I'll tell you what they had for breakfast 3 Tuesdays ago." When he picked up, his voice was groggy, skeptical. I didn't waste time with apologies. "I think my wife's cheating," I said. "But I also think the man she's with either doesn't exist or isn't supposed to." He was silent for a long beat. Then he said, "Give me everything." Cal called me the next morning, barely after sunrise, like he hadn't slept. His voice was sharper now, more alert, that old familiar edge he used to get when something didn't line up. The last time I heard him sound like that, he'd found out our landlord in Chicago was using dead tenants' social security numbers to apply for tax refunds. Long story. "I ran facial recognition on the guy from the hotel photo," he said. "Not just your image search. Deeper scrape. Private databases. Military, insurance records, real estate filings. I even checked expats in Latin America. The guy goes by at least 4 different names. Mark Denner is one. Darren Knoll is another. Then there's Liam Caro and Julian Mox." I didn't say anything. I couldn't. My brain felt like a scrambled radio signal, picking up too many frequencies at once. He's not just some fake profile. Whoever this guy is, he's not just lying. He's erasing himself every few years. Why would Miel be involved with someone like that? I finally managed to say. Cal's voice dropped. "I don't think it's just a fling, Warren." That was the first moment I felt it. Not heartbreak, not betrayal, but fear. After we hung up, I finally plugged in the USB. It was cold to the touch, like it had been in a freezer. I held it in my palm for a few seconds before inserting it into my laptop. I disabled Wi-Fi first. Cal taught me that years ago. Never open a blind device while connected. Just in case. The USB contained a single folder. Inside, 6 short video clips. No titles, no metadata. Just timestamps, all from the last 3 weeks. I opened the first one. It was footage from a dashboard cam, low quality, dark streets, a silver sedan pulling into what looked like a small motel. Miel stepped out of the passenger side. She looked different, not like the version of her I knew. Her hair was darker, pulled back tight. She was wearing a coat I'd never seen before. Her face was harder. No warmth. Just steel. In the second clip, she was in a parking garage, talking to a man off camera. Her voice was faint but audible. She said, "I told him I was going to Des Moines." He didn't question it. That one hit me like a punch to the gut. Des Moines was last month. I remember it clearly because I spent the weekend alone, repainting the downstairs bathroom. She came back that Sunday like nothing had happened, even complimented the color. "Soft eucalyptus," she said, "makes the place feel less sad." The third clip, that's the one that changed everything. It was shot through a long-lens camera, pointed at a dimly lit bar. Inside, seated at the end of the counter, was Miel. Next to her, the man I now knew had more names than a passport forgery ring. But they weren't acting like lovers. They were talking intensely. No smiles. No kisses. No touches. And then, Miel reached into her bag and pulled out something. A phone, I think, and handed it to him. He took it, slipped it into his jacket, and then got up to leave without a word. The video zoomed in as he walked away. And for the briefest second, he looked directly into the camera, like he knew someone was watching. The fourth video was different. It was nighttime again, but this time the footage was of me, walking into my house, grocery bags in hand. The timestamp matched the night. I thought I saw something move near the neighbor's hedge. I even went out back with a flashlight, checked the gate. Nothing. Just shadows. I was wrong. Someone had been there, filming me, watching both of us. The fifth and sixth clips were corrupted. Static. Glitches. Unwatchable. I tried converting them to a different format. Nothing worked. But the file names were chilling enough. Entry fail _ audio only. MP4 inch. Red room _ 18 min loop. MP4 inch. I didn't open them again. I called Cal back. Told him what I'd seen. He was quiet for a long time, then said, "Warren, I don't think she's cheating on you." I froze. He continued, "I think she's using you as cover. And I think whoever this guy is, Darren, Mark, whatever, he's not with her. He's using her. Or she's using him. But either way, this goes way deeper than a fling." "Why me?" I asked. Because you're quiet. You don't ask questions. You don't snoop. You're the safest person in the world to hide behind. I hung up, sat at the kitchen table again, and just stared into space. Outside, the wind picked up. I swear I saw movement at the far edge of the street, a dark shape near the lamppost. But when I blinked, it was gone. Then my phone buzzed. A new message from Miel. I'll be home Monday. Don't wait up, yellow heart. No explanation. No photos. No details. Just calm, controlled confidence. Like she already knew I wouldn't confront her. Like she'd done this before. But this time I was ready. This time, I wouldn't be waiting quietly. Sunday was quiet in the wrong kind of way. There's the peace you feel on a lazy morning. Birds chirping, coffee brewing, sun stretching across the floor like a dog waking up. That's not what I had. This was a dead silence kind of quiet, the kind that presses against your eardrums and makes you flinch when the refrigerator kicks on. I couldn't stop replaying Cal's words in my head. You're the safest person in the world to hide behind. That stuck with me. He wasn't wrong. I wasn't a fighter. I didn't confront. I endured. I folded the laundry. I paid the bills. I asked her how her day was, even when I felt like I didn't exist in it. But now I wasn't sure whose story I was even in anymore. Around 1 p.m., I started going room by room, slowly, methodically. Not looking for evidence of cheating. That part didn't even feel real anymore. I was looking for something else. I didn't know what exactly. I just had this need to confirm I wasn't losing my grip entirely. Then it happened. In the hallway near the guest bathroom, the one we never use except when her mother visits, I heard a faint click, like a mechanical hiccup. It wasn't a floorboard. It wasn't the pipes. It was intentional, sharp, purposeful. I froze, breath held, and waited. Nothing. Then another click. It was behind the drywall, just to the right of the hallway mirror. I tapped the wall. Hollow. Then slightly less hollow, about a foot higher. I went to the garage, grabbed a screwdriver, and unscrewed the mirror from its mounting clips. It came off easier than I expected. Behind it wasn't drywall. It was a false panel, painted to match the rest of the wall. Seamless. Almost invisible unless you were looking for it, or listening to it breathe. I pried it open. Inside was a device the size of a small book, matte black, 2 blinking green lights, and a cooling fan that spun as softly as a sigh. It wasn't a thermostat. It wasn't connected to any home system I knew of. No logo. No serial number. Just a tiny red switch marked AUX arm. I didn't touch it. Not yet. Instead, I followed the thin cable leading from the device. It ran up into the ceiling, where it connected to, I swear this is true, a motion sensor hidden in the hallway light fixture. A motion sensor. In my own house. A house I thought I knew. I ran to the breaker panel in the garage and flipped off everything connected to that hallway. Then I took my phone, turned the flashlight on, and opened the attic crawl space above the bathroom. That's when I found the rest. A bundle of identical devices, not just in the hallway, but over the kitchen, the guest room, even above my bedroom closet. All of them wired through a separate network of coaxial cables and old satellite dish hardware, the kind no one uses anymore, unless you're trying to build something off-grid. I traced one cable down to the laundry room. Behind the washing machine, where the drywall had a tiny, clean square cut into it, was a signal box. It had a SIM card slot. Whoever had set this up had access to mobile data. Independent. Untraceable. Which meant that everything, every motion, every sound, had probably been recorded and uploaded remotely. I staggered back, sat down on the tile floor, and just stared at my own knees like they might offer an explanation. My house wasn't mine. My life wasn't mine. I was inside something, and had been for a long time. Maybe years. I called Cal again, whispering now, unsure if anything I said out loud could still be considered mine. I told him about the wiring, the motion sensors, the AUX device. He didn't ask if I was sure. He just said, okay, that's surveillance architecture. But that's not cheap. That's not DIY. Someone spent thousands setting that up. Which means, it's not just about her, I said quietly. No, he replied. It's not. She's not the target. You are. That stopped me cold. Me? Why? What did I have? I'm not rich. I'm not connected. I'm a logistics guy who watches sci-fi movies and clips coupons for frozen ravioli. You ever say no to something? Cal asked. Turn down a job? Get a weird government contract and pass on it? Something sketchy you blocked out? I racked my brain. Nothing. Unless. I paused. There was something. A contract that came across my desk over a year ago, logistics for an import chain that didn't make sense. It was flagged for customs anomalies. Too many reroutes, missing ports, inconsistent cargo descriptions. I buried it. Reported it quietly. I never followed up. I told Cal. He swore. "You idiot," he said. "That wasn't a mistake. You tripped something." A minute later, I got a new text. Unknown number. Turn the power back on. Just that. Nothing else. I stared at the screen. The air in the house felt suddenly heavy. Electric. Like the building itself was waiting for my next move. That's when I decided I wasn't staying here another night. I left the house at 3:48 a.m. I know the exact time because I didn't drive. I walked. Quiet. Hoodie up, gloves on, no lights, no phone. I ditched my SIM card in a gas station toilet half a mile away. Tossed the whole phone into a dumpster behind a shuttered bakery. Left my laptop in the trunk of a random car with the words, "Take me," scribbled on a sticky note. I don't know why I did that last part, maybe out of spite, maybe as a distraction. But the only thing I kept was a USB drive I copied from the original and a handwritten list of Cal's instructions. I didn't go to his place. Too obvious. He'd set me up in a location he used to use for remote work, a rented cabin deep in a wooded stretch outside Newton, Iowa. The kind of place that doesn't show up on Zillow, built before GPS had teeth. It was one of those squat, unremarkable structures with wood paneling, no internet, and a broken microwave that smelled like melted plastic. The perfect kind of forgettable. There was a prepaid phone waiting on the kitchen table, and a burner laptop. No windows on the back wall. That helped. I didn't sleep. My nerves were shot. It felt like I'd been living in a play where everyone knew the script but me. Now I was finally off stage, but still stuck in costume. Around 6:20 a.m., Cal called the burner. His voice was low and tense. "All right," he said. "I've been digging more into your wife. Or whoever she really is." He paused. "Her real name's not Miel." I felt my throat tighten. I didn't say anything. He kept going. "She's used 5 different legal names since 2008. Changed states 3 times. All clean records, but there's a pattern. Every 3 to 4 years, she creates a new identity. Always under the radar, no public job history, but always in proximity to companies that end up compromised." "What kind of companies?" "Warehousing, logistics, tech infrastructure. You name it. Places that move information quietly. Sound familiar?" It hit me like a slap. My own job. My company. I handle shipment data for multinational clients. Quietly. I have access to routes, timing, customs clearance, offshore facility data, backdoor encryption for commercial tracking. I never thought of it as valuable. Just industry logistics. But if someone wanted to move things, sensitive things, and needed to stay hidden, I was the golden ticket. "She embedded herself," I said flatly. Cal's voice dropped lower. "Warren, she married you on purpose." The room spun. I thought back to the beginning. Our meet cute at a boring conference mixer, her sudden interest in what I did, how she laughed at my dumb jokes. I thought I was charming her. The quiet guy who finally won the girl. But now, maybe I was selected. Chosen for exactly who I wasn't. No drama. No suspicion. No ego. Cal sent me a file over the secure line. When I opened it, I felt physically sick. It was a scanned document. A photo of a training roster from a private contractor program that was shut down in 2015 after whistleblowers leaked footage of psychological operations being tested domestically. The names were mostly redacted, but one wasn't. Miel Rouse. Role: human asset handler. Specialization: integration via long-term identity immersion. I didn't cry. I didn't even feel anger. Just a hollow vacuum that sucked the color out of the room. She never loved me. Maybe she didn't even like me. I was infrastructure, a shell she nested in, carefully, calculatingly, until the right moment to gut it from the inside. "I don't know what to do," I said out loud. Cal's answer was instant. "You don't go back. Ever. You burn it down, metaphorically or otherwise." That's when the prepaid phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "You're in the cabin. Don't worry. We won't interrupt, yet." I dropped the phone. They knew. They already knew. I stood up, heart hammering, eyes darting to the corners of the ceiling. Were there cameras here too? Mics? Was I even alone? How far did this web stretch? I paced the room like an animal. That's when I remembered the USB. I hadn't opened everything on it yet. I plugged it into the burner laptop, ignored the corrupted files, and opened a folder I hadn't noticed before, labeled simply Foxtrot. Inside, audio files, labeled by date. Recorded conversations. Not just mine and Miel's, but mine alone. Me talking to myself. Me singing under my breath. Me calling in sick to work. Me sleeping. Me crying quietly on the bathroom floor last March when I thought she might be pulling away and I didn't know how to fix it. They'd been listening to everything. Even my heartbreak. The last file was marked with today's date. I clicked it. What I heard wasn't me. It wasn't Miel. It was someone else's voice, low, calm, rehearsed, like they were reading a script. A male voice I didn't recognize. Subject remains unaware of true scope. Host integration successful. Secondary exit plan confirmed. Initiate displacement protocol if asset fails extraction. I slammed the lid shut. Displacement protocol. They weren't just watching. They were getting ready to replace me. I didn't sleep. Again. I paced in the cabin for hours, tracing the edges of the floorboards with my bare feet, listening for anything, scratches, creaks, camera clicks, breathing that wasn't mine. The only window that faced the road was covered in blackout film, but I still caught myself peeking through the corners, half expecting to see a red dot blink through the trees. At around 4:45 a.m., the burner phone rang. It was Cal. I didn't even say hello. Displacement protocol, I whispered. Yeah, he said quietly. I looked into it. That's not a term regular surveillance firms use. It's something darker. I only found it in leak archives from off-the-books operations. Psychological warfare. Long-play infiltration programs. Experimental stuff, meant for use overseas. Use for what? To replace a target in every way that matters. Socially, financially, legally, psychologically. Not kill them. Just erase them. And swap them with something more controllable. I didn't respond. He went on. Once you're displaced, the rest is easy. Nobody questions it. Your employer hears you got relocated. Your friends think you ghosted. Paperwork gets updated. Mail forwarded. Apartment released. And your wife? He paused, voice tightening. She collects your life like a dead star collapsing into itself. I felt my knees buckle, sat on the floor. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. They're going to replace me, Cal. Not if you disappear first. I stayed in the cabin another day. Ate cold beans from a can. Didn't open the door once. But I couldn't sit still. I needed to do something before they did it for me. So I called a contact. One I hadn't spoken to in years. Marcus Vant. He used to do low-level cleanup work for data breaches in the private sector. The kind of guy who can make you unfindable or unalive, depending on what you're paying for. We worked on a logistics breach back in 2016. I knew he owed me a favor. I cashed it in. He agreed to meet. Neutral ground. Midnight. A strip mall 20 miles out of Des Moines. Deserted parking lot. No cameras. I showed up early. The parking lot was washed in orange light. A liquor store on one end, a boarded-up pet grooming place on the other. I parked 3 spaces from a handicapped spot and killed the engine. Waited in silence. At exactly midnight, a black Civic pulled in. But it wasn't Marcus who got out. It was me. Same hair, same face, same jacket. The blue Carhartt I'd lost at a concert years ago. Except he looked cleaner. Straighter posture. Better rested. More intentional somehow. I didn't move. I thought maybe I was hallucinating. Maybe exhaustion had snapped something in my head. But he walked toward my car slowly, with a look that wasn't shock or recognition or fear. It was relief. Like I was the last part of a math problem finally solving itself. He reached my window. Tapped it gently. I rolled it down an inch. He leaned in and said, "You weren't supposed to get this far." I didn't answer. Couldn't. "I'm the fail-safe," he continued. "In case you woke up before protocol was complete." "Who are you?" I whispered. He smiled sadly. "I'm the better version. The one who won't run. The one who doesn't need to question everything. The one who finishes what started. You're not real. I'm real enough to take what you've been wasting." I was shaking, but I noticed something. His hands. They had no scars. Not the thin line across my knuckle from when I sliced my hand opening a stubborn tin can. Not the cigarette burn from a summer bonfire back in college. Not even the small mole under my wrist I'd had since childhood. Whoever this was, he was a copy. But not perfect. Just close enough to fool a world that wasn't looking too closely. I reached under my seat, where I'd taped a screwdriver to the underside before leaving the cabin. If this was going to be a last stand, I wasn't going down quietly. But before I could grab it, a light flared behind him. Another car pulled in. Cal. He got out slowly, holding something in his hand. A recording device, maybe? A phone. He pointed it toward the copy. Smile for the timestamp, Cal said. The copy froze. Something in his face changed. He backed up slowly, scanned the lot, then turned and walked back to his car without another word. No threat. No drama. Just left. Cal climbed into the passenger seat beside me, breathing hard. He wasn't supposed to make contact yet, he said. You just sped their timeline up. I looked at him. What happens now? He stared out at the darkness. Now? Now we burn everything. We didn't burn the system that night. We studied it first. Cal and I spent 4 days in that cabin dissecting every wire, every file, every name. He brought in equipment I don't want to describe publicly. Devices that scrambled signals, copied SIMs, sniffed encrypted packets off dead networks. He was surgical, focused. I watched him work and realized I hadn't appreciated the depth of what he left behind when he walked away from the industry. This program, he said, eyes flicking between screens, is older than you think. Built on the back of Cold War sleeper op architecture. Except now it's privatized. Sold to corporations, nations, even cartels. Anyone who wants to erase a problem and replace it with something programmable. And Miel? I asked. He didn't look at me. She's not high-ranking. She's just a handler. Asset with a nice face and a knack for emotional engineering. She's done this before. She'll do it again. The last sentence hit harder than I expected. Even after everything, the lies, the surveillance, the copy of me walking into that parking lot, I still couldn't fully kill the idea that she had, at some point, really seen me. Not just the life I gave her, but the parts of me I thought were invisible. The way I folded our towels because she liked the edges tucked. The way I left her notes in her books that matched the chapter themes. The way I memorized her allergies so I could cook without asking twice. Maybe it was real once. Or maybe I was just the most useful illusion she'd ever worn. But it didn't matter anymore. Because we had what we needed. By the end of the week, Cal had mapped their command and control chain. Not names, they didn't use those. But locations, shell firms, and communication relays. And more importantly, we had access to their internal audit logs. Turns out they monitored everything. Even their own. Warren Anders, me, was marked as pending obsolescence. Scheduled to be phased out within the next 30 days. My bank accounts were already being quietly rerouted. My digital identity was flagged for reassignment. There were even drafted emails from me announcing I was relocating overseas for a personal reset. They had planned the ending of my story before I even knew I was living it. But now I had the pen. Cal asked me what I wanted to do. Blow it all up? Leak the data? Burn every last server to the ground? I stared at the screen. And for the first time in weeks, I smiled. No, I said. Let's take their favorite tool and flip it. We used their own system. We rewrote me. We sent out a broadcast through their low-band shadow network announcing that subject Warren Anders had been successfully displaced and integrated. We spoofed the facial recognition logs with footage of the copy entering an offshore safe house. We planted AI-generated phone calls, search history, even a deepfake podcast interview where I talked about starting a new chapter in Zurich. As far as their system was concerned, I was gone. Erased. Which meant I was finally free. I took a new name. Cal set it up through old contacts. New passport. New backstory. Clean digital signature. I moved east, small town, new job, working with my hands for the first time in years. Fixing boats, actually. There's a quiet rhythm in wood and salt water that rewires something inside you. It's been 11 months now. I don't check on her. I don't need to. The program thinks I'm dust in a file. A success story of their own design. But sometimes, late at night, I look in the mirror and whisper my own name just to remind myself I still exist. Still matter. Still chose to stay real when everything around me tried to replace what was inconvenient with what was obedient. And that's what I want anyone reading this to know. Sometimes survival isn't about fighting louder. Sometimes it's about disappearing smarter. I wasn't erased. I escaped. And somewhere out there, a system still thinks it won. Let it. I've got peace now. That's more than most ghosts get.